Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday morning, April 21st. So this morning I woke up with the idea of one particular project. And well, you know those times when you remember something a particular way and then you rediscover, no, you're not remembering it right? That was the case of this. So what I had wanted to do this morning was one of what I call a segmented pincushion. So this guy. And I was remembering him as having each segment being made out of one fabric rather than like two different types of fabric. Not a big deal. Totally doable to do the two right triangles together to make each leg. But then there's the little catch that I wanted to make sure I was doing it as it was done from the American Girls book. And there it's called A Bunch of Roots. There you go. And this is meant to be a toilet pincushion, okay? Well, here's the thing. As you can tell, that illustration and what I just showed you, not quite the same. So I'm going to pause and go back to that later. I've always wanted to make one of the little triangle guys. I find them really kind of whimsical and fun. I picture them done up in like fun fabrics or silks and I don't know, just stuff. The one in the American Girls book calls for filling them with bran, which gets a little messy, and I don't actually have on hand. Well, it says wool or bran, but it also does a multiple layer thing going on of coarse linen, and then you cover them with silk. So I'll try to get back to those at some point in the future. But for today's project, I went a couple pages earlier and I'm like, I haven't done these in a while. So she calls these flannel pincushions, and what they really are kind of like tubes. They're made differently because they're made with a flat center that's rolled. Okay. So her directions, this is Liza Leslie, says to take very long slips of old flannel, that would be wool, cut quite straight and even. For a flat pincushion, the flannel must be a little more than 1 inch broad. For a tall one, 4 inches. Roll up the flannel as tightly as possible as they roll galloon in the shops, and sew down the last end so as to secure it. Measure as much silk ribbon or silk as will go around the flannel and sew it on. Then cut circular pieces of silk and sew them to cover the tops and the bottoms of the pincushions. These pincushions are more easily made than any others, and they're very convenient to keep in your work basket or reticule. All right, so when she calls for old flannel, it's wool flannel. Okay, so you're looking for, like, this is actually a remnant that's serged, so something nice and thick. Okay, this is nice and thick too, so this is fold for rug hooking. Okay, and let's see, here's another scrap, and this is what I use for the pages. Totally usable. And I know there's some of you out there going, cringe, because, yeah, that gets expensive. So today, because I think this is what you guys are going to have laying around, I'm going to use some of my leftover scrap bit of wool cotton batting. Of course, this comes in wool too. Nice dense, okay? Not the fluffy stuff. And you're going to want ribbon if you happen to have ribbon. Okay, you could go with a narrow pretty ribbon, a wider stripe ribbon if you don't happen to have ribbon. Of course, you can use silk or cotton or whatever you have laying around. So we can tap into the handy dandy box over here. I'm gonna have to refill this at some point, huh? Ooh, this could make a cool one. So this is like a waffle print. Ooh, let's save out that little piece. So you could pick out a stripe if you happen to have a stripe. And you can even combine things if you want. all different kinds of options, okay? So pick out a scrap of this or that. I'm debating about using this little white guy here. So yeah, scrap of silk, length of ribbon, needle and thread. All right. Got my little pin cushion here, one of the ones from earlier. And for fun, I'm going to use this blue variegated thread. It's actually something I picked up at a yard sale or an estate sale, I think. Okay, so initially she says to cut this long and straight. I'm going to help you out a little there. What you really want to do is cut it long and straight the width of your ribbon, okay? We're going to do something a little in reverse of what she's doing. So let's angle this down. Get my T out of the way. All right, rearrange. Make this a little more doable. Egads, all I brought over was, oh, here we go. So this is a erasable pen. All right, and that edge is more straight than the other edge. I tend to rough cut things. And the cool thing is this being something that'll roll is actually very forgiving. So I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to lay it down on top. And I'm going to sneeze, aren't I? Pause for a moment. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so I've laid my ribbon on top of my batting, and I'm just going to use this as a guide. For my ends here. And I'm actually going to do 2 rows just in case. Because I haven't decided what I want this to look like at the end yet. Okay. Now, depending on the width of your ribbon, you can actually use it for the ends too if you really want. What little one? It's kind of rainy and damp outside, so there's no birds, there's no sun. I think I've got a slightly sulky kitty cat. All right. So I've got my 2 long lengths, and you're going to see that this end is not very even. That's fine, because what I'm actually going to do is pull out the ends a little bit. And there's a weird reason for that. All right, see how I did that? So it's not a cut blunt edge anymore. It's all softened. That's going to be my outer piece. All right. So I'm going to, because I have 2 strips, I'm going to overlay them a little bit like this, okay? Get rid of the random red thread. Oh, you know what? I do need to pause because I haven't threaded my needle yet. Because you're going to want this ready to go. Thread your needle ahead of time. That's a big needle. There we go. That's better. Go with the darker end. That way y'all can see what I do with the threads. All right, so I've overlapped my 2 pieces because I do have 2 pieces. If you have 1, then you don't have to worry about that. And then pinch rolling, starting at the end. I hope you can see that. I'm just going to roll really tight, like you're trying to roll a sleeping bag to get it to fit into that bag that it's never big enough. Yeah, I've got to like really like push down on it. And of course, at the same time, try not to let your ends poke out too much. You know what that's like. All right, nice and tight. Keep on rolling. Okay, so we get a nice tube like that, okay? And we're gonna take the needle and thread. And remember how I pulled out those edges? It's nice and smooth and flat there. I'm gonna basically wrap over that end with some stitches. And these are just big old rough stitches. I like to start in the center, work out to the end. Oops. Single thread is best, though I kind of overlapped there. There we go. I think it's a little windy out. I'm hearing stuff moving out there. Yeah. Alrighty. Let's trim that thread. Take a look at what that looks like. See, nice big old stitches, okay? Just really secures that down. Okay, so here's where you've got to decide what you want for your ends. Eliza Leslie has you wrapping around first, but we're going to do a little different. We're going to do the ends first. I find it covers the ends better. So I can go with this white at the end, or because of how I did this, I made a little guy. I could actually put some of this blue at the end. And you know, I like that idea. I think I've got a different cut at this end. All right. I like the idea of having the blue at both ends. So what you're going to want to do is cut yourself 2 circles that are bigger than the ends of your tubes, okay? So here we go. I'm going to put my tube down. Grab my little pen. Now my pen here is a, let me get the name right. Where's the name? It's Pilot Ball Friction. So this is a pen that will erase with hot friction. So when you iron, got this, you know, at my favorite quilt shop. Now, one thing I have heard from folks is the color will come back in the cold. So if you need to go back over something, you can stick your project in the freezer and it'll come back. But at the same time, if you're doing a winter hood, just be aware that the line might shadow back if you're wearing it in extreme cold, okay? I found that out after I did some hoods, and hopefully it'll be fine. I would not worry too much for a dark colored hood, but something that's bright and light, yeah, might be a worry. All right, so we're going to have 2 little circles here, okay? Now I cut my circle bigger than the line I put on there. And now we are going to sew the ends down. All right, so what I do is I place my circle centered on my tube. So from that end, okay? And then I'm going to catch my circle, my tube, and then my circle. And I'm just going to sew these ends down. And Clara needs some assistance. Nope, Mommy's circle. There you go, love. Cool. Thank you. Okay, so you can see how I'm doing that. I'm just catching my tube, catching my circle. Okay. Now this is a technique that I use for some of my sewing cases, the tubular sewing cases. If you've ever taken one of those workshops with me at the museum, you may have learned this technique. It's nice and easy, not too stressful. All right. So there's one time around. All right, and I will go around a second time. If you want, you could do a running stitch down this way too. I like the other way. It's just me. Oh, I finally am hearing some birds. Maybe the weather will get better. All right, so I've got one end done. All right, I'm gonna run my thread over the other side. All right, looking at the time, I'm gonna hit pause and stitch the other one on, okay? And when I come back, we will wrap around the centers. Okay, I'm back. So I have both ends covered here. And now we're gonna go on to the wrapping around part. Now, for those of you doing ribbon, you're just gonna wrap around and cut the amount you're gonna need. Remembering to leave yourself about a 1/2 inch to fold under at the very end. So I'm gonna do that here. And we're gonna be using the selvage edge to sew through. Now, if you're using fabric, what I want you to do is plan to fold over the edge, okay? So in this case, let's just pretend that this is a long section. You would have folded over both edges and then cut your batting to be the width from folded edge to folded edge, okay? And then that's going to be how you're going to roll that over. Your folded edge, you're going to want to press along that, okay? I feel bad. I should have done a whole example of this. Let me see if I can do some pictures to go with the post. Okay. So let me grab my little piece back here. Okay, so step one, it's actually going to be to anchor the end of your ribbon or your silk or your fabric, okay? So I'm going to go through the batting and through the end of the ribbon here. Work from the center out. Okay. This is going to help let me pull this nice and taut. Just like the closure part of the batting or the wool, this is a nice big stitch. Just through the core, and then up through the fabric. Okay, and I'm actually going to stop on the outer edge the second pass through. So that's what that looks like. Okay, hi little miss. You're in the way. You gotta get down. Yeah, we're showing people how to do stuff. All right, so then I'm gonna wrap my ribbon around to where I just was. Fold that under, okay? This might be a spot where you're gonna wanna pin. I just have another needle here. Oh, let's not use that guy. Let's use this one. All right, you might wanna pin here, okay? You could pin along that whole length and that's fine. All right. So I use the end of my needle to push in any raw pieces. I'm going to catch just the edge of the circle end and then up through the selvage of the ribbon. Okay. And I'm going to do that all the way around. This is where having a fun coordinating thread or contrasting thread is extra fun, because you can show that off in your stitching. And I'm just doing an easy little whip stitch here. And you can do a stitch that shows as much or as little of the stitching as you really want. Because this is a fun variegated thread, I actually let it double over. Usually I don't like my thread quite so thick, but this is giving me the two different tones of the blue. Now I remember which estate sale that was. So this woman had a really great sewing room, and different projects started. And as I went through, I realized her husband was military, and she started a different hobby or craft with every deployment. Or every place they were stationed, because there were actually products in different languages. And some of the projects were complete, some of them were just started. So it kind of made me wonder about how long the deployments were, how worried she was each time, or when they came home, if she just stopped that particular project. It was kind of neat. But that's where I got like this thread and a lot of my embroidery flosses and some other odds and ends. All right, so there's that one end. Okay. Now, one of the things I do know, we have a lot of folks that are, I'm going to try to go from one end to the other, and I don't think I can. I know we have, hang on. Just trying to open her curtain. We have a lot of folks that are making doll size of our projects. So this is already fairly small, or depending on what size you're using, might not be too small. But I was realizing this could make the cutest little bolster pillow for dolls, depending on the scale you're doing. Okay, so I'm going to go over the other end, make sure this is nice and snug. Bury my knot. I need to push that under. And do the same thing I just did on the other side. And once I'm done with this side, I'll cross back over that closure piece. What are you doing, Goose? You having fun? Hi. Stay there. I said stay there. You're not allowed to have that. Aw. So Miss Clara Rose will talk back. Kind of funny. When I yell at her, I'm really curious if other cats have done this. I've never seen it before. So if I yell at her, she sticks her butt in the air at me and does this butt shake twitch thing. Like each of her cheeks show. And as I'm trying to tell a story, I caused a knot. Anyway, she'll shake her butt cheeks at me and thinks it's funny. I'm gonna have to go back and fix that little oops right there. Alright, just a couple more stitches. I like projects with a rhythm to the stitching like this. Alright, so I've gone all the way around. We're going to ignore that little thread at the bottom. And now I'm just going to do the closure. Now I could make little cute X's at this closure, or I can just minimize my stitches here. Come on, wee thread. I have a little thread that has to go. There we go. And I am making this really quite small. I think Leslie would have saw this particular ribbon and recommended the flatter version, which of course would take more batting, like a larger wheel of batting. But I do like small pin cushions. I like them for how easily transportable they are. You can make one as large or as small as you like. There we go. Here's my little pin cushion. And I'll do another one with some fabric for you and take some photos. Otherwise, have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.